You are now listening to the Where's the Line podcast with Joseph West and Britt Dillard. Enjoy the show.
Milton gonna take a shot wide open and just strutting in is Keaton. Joe Milton does it again.
Borgie again on a blitz. Levis pocket collapses. He's on the run. He just heaves it up. And it's intercepted by Vanderbilt. And let the celebration begin. The streak is over at 26. The Commodores win it.
Talk about Vanderbilt football. All I gotta say, and you're going to hell. Bye.
Another edition of Where's the Line? It is Wednesday, October 23rd, episode number 142.
Britt.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, turn it up.
Turn it up. Britt, continue.
My name is Britt. This is Joseph.
That's right.
And Joseph, we don't give a damn about the whole state of Alabama.
We don't care about the Tide on Where's the Line. I'll say that. We own the Tide.
We're from
on
Tennessee.
Where's the Line. That's right. We from the
We
great
are from
state.
Tennessee.
And the schools of Tennessee that play Alabama will go undefeated against Alabama this year. I know that.
That is true.
Can't say nothing else about it.
If you can't tell, I gave my all for Tennessee Saturday night. And they say God gives his hardest battles to his toughest soldiers. But I'm hurting. I smoked a cigar from a friend of the show, Mason Ward, and I think it may kill me.
It may have had fentanyl in it.
Yeah.
It may have had fentanyl in it. There's no doubt Mason tried to kill Britt. Welcome in, everybody, once again. So Where's the Line? Britt is under the weather. So we're going to start it off with UT recap. Once again, they took down Alabama this past weekend. Was that final score 24-17? What that was? I have all the Vanderbilt stuff pulled up. I'm sorry, guys.
I'm under the influence of several prescription drugs.
24-17. Tennessee did win that game. Britt, opening statement about the game.
Tennessee got shut out in the first half for the third consecutive time, which hasn't happened in over 60 years, I believe. Missing throws was kind of the main thing. Your defense played great in the first half. You probably should have been winning 17-0 at halftime. Josh Heupel is coaching as good as he has since he's been at Tennessee. The last two games have been just incredible as far as receivers being wide open. And in a game where Dylan Sampson couldn't really get going early, there was really a lot of opportunities for explosive pass plays that we just did not execute on. Nico gets hit. He has his Joe Burrow moment and gets the crap knocked out of him. And after that, he was, I don't want to say lights out, but he was really good. He was very improved. And I think Nico may have learned something Saturday night. You can say what you want about Nico. I was pretty down on him when he did go down. It was kind of like, hey, maybe we need a change of scenery for a minute. Maybe he just needs to rest, or I don't know if he's hurt or whatever. But your freshman quarterback is undefeated against Alabama and Florida, which, say what you want, I know the defense has a huge part in that, but we haven't been able to say that.
Yeah,
So,
certainly.
cool.
I'm on the opposite end from Britt. I would say instead of Tennessee should have been leading at half 17-0, they should have been down like by 30. I mean, honestly, they should have been down by four scores.
You can definitely say that and play devil's advocate. Jalen Milroe was terrible Saturday.
Let's say something. I said it 2 years ago on this podcast the whole year. I just came on this podcast week after week and said Jalen Milroe is not good. Jalen Milroe is not good. Jalen Milroe is not good. Jalen Milroe this year and at the end of last year even looked much better at the beginning of this year, end of last year.
Yeah.
And I thought he has all the talent in the world. He can run. He's probably put it all together. I truly think Vanderbilt exposed what you have to do in order to just slow down Jalen Milroe, which is take away the run game, make him throw it downfield, and just see if he gets it done. He can't. He can't get it done consistently down the field. That's what the first half ultimately came down to. Shout out to Tennessee's defense, obviously. Honestly, I will say something too. Tennessee's secondary played much better than I thought they were going to play in the first half. The defensive line actually was low-key getting bullied early. There was no pressure on the quarterback. There was no James Pierce sighting. There was no Lott. His name always slips me.
Omar Norman Lott.
Omar Norman Lott. There was no Norman Lott sightings. There just wasn't a lot of pressure. Now, obviously, in this game, Tennessee ends up finding some pressure. So the defensive line did get going. But I just thought, I said the secondary was still suspect. It may still be, but in this game, they did their job. They played well. Gerard McCoy had a really good game. Looked like he was always in the right spot. Not even necessarily the interception. I don't give him a lot of credit. I have no idea what Jalen Milroe was doing. But plays outside of the interception, he made a couple solid, really good plays. Even a couple throws, he was just right there. Maybe doesn't even get the PBU for it, but he's right there where he's supposed to be step for step with his man. So I thought McCoy looked good. That was one note I had. But, yeah, the first half, shout out Tennessee's defense. They really did keep them in the game. Tennessee had 2 turnovers in the first half. 2 of them came in the first half, I believe. So, they kept them in it. Nico threw a bad pick early in Tennessee's defense. But Tennessee had 3 turnovers in this game. Alabama did not score a point off the turnovers. They did not score a single point. That's the difference right there. Alabama had 2 turnovers, which I believe Tennessee took to 10 points. So there's your difference in the game right there. This game was decided by a touchdown. Score when you get turnovers, and you're going to win the football game.
Absolutely. And Tennessee looked a lot better. And I would say 5 or 6 drives of this game where you were like, okay, this is a Josh Heupel offense. Like, it's running fast. People are wide open. You're hitting throws. That was pretty awesome. Kind of to your point, I want to say Jalen Milroe missed at least, and correct me if I'm just crazy, I want to say he missed at least 10 throws that were just awful.
Jalen Milroe, by the stat sheet, was 25 of 45 for 239 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, got sacked 3 times. On Bleacher Report, they hit you with an emoji at the end of it. For Jalen Milroe, it's the eye roll emoji. This performance was garbage. Britt's right. I had in the first half, I have written down in my notes, I have 5 throws. 5 throws that he missed. Because I was watching at the tailgate, but I watched the whole entire first 3 quarters of the game. So I had 5 throws down to that point. It could have easily been 7, 8, 9, 10 throws. I don't think Britt's far off there. Milroe just strictly didn't look good.
Yeah. And to your point, I mean, much like in the Vanderbilt game, Jalen Milroe just looked terrified. And if you bottle up the run, I mean, they had 34 carries for 75 yards, 2.2 a carry. When you force him to make throws, he just simply couldn't do it. Your secondary did play great. Freak of the week, 2 players. Jermon McCoy, freak of the week.
Got it.
And James Pierce.
Okay.
In the second half, James Pierce's impact was definitely there. And Jermon McCoy against Ryan Williams, who was 17 years old. 5 targets, 2 catches allowed, 28 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. Jermon McCoy had Ryan Williams in hell.
And for the record, just because this is insane, Britt, do you know how many targets? Have you looked at how many targets Ryan Williams had in this game?
I know in the first half he had like 12.
He had 20 on the game out of 45 passing attempts. That's insane. Ryan Williams is really good, and he even missed Ryan Williams open. I would say
times.
2 or 3 of those throws.
Yeah.
So, Ryan Williams, he had 8 catches for 73 yards. He is 17 years old. I didn't know that until Britt just said it, because I haven't heard any.
Assault of a minor.
I haven't heard anybody say it or anything, so it was just weird to hear that. But 8 catches, 73 yards for a touchdown. He did look pretty good. It seemed like he was open a lot, similar to what you would say about kind of a lot of Nico's throws in the first half. Dudes were open, you just missed them. Like there was a wide open crossing route in the second quarter for Nico, and I mean, if he hits him, it's believe that was Thornton. It's Thornton and the safety mano a mano to the end zone. That is it. It's just him and the safety. Missed him again, or missed a different player. Believe it was Brew on a deep ball a little bit later, and that was in back-to-back sequences. And I looked over at some of the guys we were watching the game with, and I said they're going to get blown out. I was like, they're about to get blown out. And it was only 7-0, but I was like, he can't do anything right now. And then obviously Tennessee's defensive line, as Britt said, I kind of crapped on them in the first half. They weren't good in the first half. They at least didn't live up to expectation. In the second half, at least in the third quarter, they were wreaking havoc in the third quarter. I will say that.
Yeah, and in the last 3 games, you've kind of been in the same situation where you're like, on Saturday, we've turned the ball over twice in the first half. Our offense can't do anything, and we're down by 3 points. And when you have an elite defense, which I think is kind of undisputed top 5 in the country at this point, it really just provides, I don't know what you call it, it's just a cushion. And I said, after the Arkansas loss, I said, hey, if Tennessee comes out next week, beats Florida, beats Alabama, we're right back in it. And that's the exact scenario. The way the scheduling works out, you've got a bye week, and then you play 2 of the worst teams in the conference at home in Kentucky and Mississippi State. You play Georgia, a very good team, on the road. You play UTEP, who is one of the worst teams in the country, and you play Alabama. And you play Vanderbilt. Sorry, I get those mixed up now.
Yeah,
but
we own Bama. Facts.
So you've got 4 out of your last 5 games are in the state of Tennessee. You can lose 1, and you're in the playoff.
Yeah.
But you simply have to execute, and I'm hoping that Tennessee's offense in the next 3 weeks is going to just get things rolling.
Yeah, and I think this will change, assuming that Vanderbilt, keeps the momentum going, so to speak. But the Tennessee game is not going to be an away game for Tennessee. Like, I don't think that's a shock to say to anybody. I think it's going to be at the best a 50-50 split. If Vanderbilt's super lucky and a lot of people hadn't already sold their tickets, maybe Vanderbilt tries to claim 60% of the stadium, but I doubt it. I think it'll be something like a 50-50 split. So Tennessee will have, like Britt said, 4 basically. I won't call the Vanderbilt game a home game, but it will be close.
In-state. I wasn't
in-state.
necessarily saying it was a home game, but you're not going far.
Yeah, no, he didn't. And you didn't call it a home game. I wasn't trying to say that you did, but it was. It's just going to be interesting for Tennessee down the stretch. They looked kind of dead, even though they had only lost 1 game, and now with that Bama win, you do get some life breathed into you. Britt, I do have a topic. I actually was going to open the podcast this way, but I forgot it. I've heard mixed. I have 8 people's responses here, and I just want to know how you feel about it. And that is the storm fielding, the field storming. I'm stupid. The storm fielding, the field storming.
It is uncalled for.
The field storming happened. I just wanted to hear what you thought about it. Everybody's obviously going to kind of have their own opinion or whatever.
It wasn't a full blown thing at first. I sit in the north end zone by the recruits. They're right below me, and as soon as the clock hit 0, they were out. Like, all of the recruits and their parents just sprinted out on the field.
Yeah.
And then students, and then once a few dozen students, like, it's over. Everybody's going out there.
Right.
I thought it was not dumb. I mean, you're celebrating a big win. If I was in charge, would I have stormed the field? No. I definitely wouldn't have tore down the goalpost. It was a little bit overkill. But I didn't go down there. I didn't go down there in 22. The guy I was with went down there, and I was kind of mad because it took us longer to get out of there. But I don't blame the people that went down. But.
Yeah. The 22, just to make sure before I give my opinion on it, the 22 storming, I think 100% is valid. I think it made a lot of sense. You hadn't beat Bama basically in our lifetime, for the most part. None that people our age could remember, I should say. And so beating them, and they were ranked top 10, correct? Bama was top 10?
Yes,
22?
7.
Yeah, Bama was 7, and UT was ranked as well, right?
11.
No, not this year. I'm sorry, 22.
Oh no, in 22 you were 6 and Bama was 3.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that gives for more leeway. I always say this: you only storm the field or the court in basketball. I usually pick on people in basketball about it because they storm the court, I think, a little too much in basketball. If you're big underdogs, you get to storm the court or storm the field, whichever sport you're playing, you can storm. If you're big underdogs, so I shouldn't have to explain what a big underdog is. To me, I think it could be a little bit different for everybody, but we'll just say double digits for the sake of it. In basketball, it's not that hard to overcome, but whatever.
If 1 in 5 people are picking you to win, and that person's just kind of being cute.
Yeah, then you're storming the field. Or if you're any time that the other team is ranked number 1 and you're not in the top 5, you can storm the field. As long as you're not in the top 5. But like if 5 beats 1, that's not that impressive. Like you're in the same category. That was my problem with it this year. And I didn't even give people that hard time about it. I said, look, if Vanderbilt beats Texas, I'm storming the field. There's no doubt about it. I will be on the field if Vanderbilt beats Texas.
The thing is, if you're a Tennessee fan, you're not supposed to be surprised that you beat Alabama. You're a top 10 team. You shouldn't be surprised to win any game.
Yeah.
Especially a team you just beat last time you played them at home.
I actually got tagged on a post on Facebook that was talking about the UT storming. And from a UT fan that was like, well, ask Joseph West about storming the field. And I just texted back and said, it's one thing for Vanderbilt, who most people consider the little dog to storm the field on the big dog. But you claim that you're a big dog, so when you beat a big dog, you should not be surprised. Like if you're a big dog, be a big dog. All right, that was all I said on the post. I didn't say anything else. I'm not trying to drag. Hey, if you like, I know a lot of people, my friends were there. Cody, Donald, I think they were both at the game. Several others. If any of y'all stormed the field, once other people did it, I don't really blame you. Yeah, I would have probably went down there too. But I'm just saying, if you were one of those people who were like, yeah, this was cool, I disagree, I guess is the point I was trying to make.
Well, in this Alabama team, coached by Kalen DeBoer, is not – they have the same talent as a Nick Saban team, but they are not a Nick Saban team. They're not disciplined.
Can I say this, actually? I want to say this before I get pissed off hearing people say it. I don't, and this isn't even me hating on Britt. I don't want to hear anything else about Nick Saban. Nick Saban is a coward who left college football because he could no longer cheat. Ladies and gentlemen, this dude was only good because he was the only person doing it. People are so confused about college football. They're like, why are the top teams losing? I'm so confused. It's because it's fair now. We don't have cheaters. That's why. There's no Bama and Georgia are getting every recruit because they got to deal with the Mercedes dealership down the street. There's no more of that bull crap. This is what it should be. This is what college football is supposed to be. Now, there is a lot of fixes that needs to come with NIL and everything else. But I'm tired of us praising Saban. I'm tired of it. I don't want to hear what he would do in this era because he couldn't make it in this era. That's why he left.
That's true.
I'm so tired of hearing about Nick Saban. He sucks. He was a cheater. I'm not impressed by him. I hate him on college. Everybody's saying he's great on college game day. I disagree. I hate him. So I wish I'd never see him again. He's not even that good of a football. That's a stretch. He's a great football coach, actually. Let me be very direct because I mean what I'm saying right here. Nick Saban is a great football coach. He was. But the dominance like what we've seen from Alabama in that 15 or 10-year stretch where they won 6 national championships, that's never happening again, ladies and gentlemen. That will never happen.
That's the way it should be.
Amen.
And in the early 2010s when it was Bama Clemson, like for 4 years in a row, you knew who would be in the national championship. It would be Bama Clemson. The most maddening part of it, and Georgia is still benefiting from all of that, the same way Nick Saban would be. The same way Alabama's roster is only good because of cheating. That's the way Georgia is too, because they're the same. Jeremy Pruitt got caught. He was stupid. Who do you think he learned all that from? Nick Saban, his
Yeah, actually-
former boss.
Screw Nick Saban, for real.
So,
But I mean, yeah, I honestly had to get that off my chest because I kept hearing people crap on Kalen DeBoer, and I'm not even saying Kalen DeBoer is like the best coach in the country or
he's a
anything.
loser.
But let's remember this: Kalen DeBoer's record. If you don't know what it is, I'll tell you, it's 100 and something to 30 something losses. The dude's lost like 30 games in his career. I don't care where you're coaching at. That's impressive. The dude wins football games. He's a good football coach. Bama's not bad. I'll say this on record right now. Bama wins out from here. Bama is not going to lose another game the rest of the season.
And they could.
And he's going to right the ship, and their schedule's not all that difficult. The real game they have to win is at Death Valley. But, I mean, outside of that, it's not that difficult. If they do that, then I think they definitely went out. DeBoer's not a bad coach, but I honestly kind of feel bad for him because every time he turns around, I know he's hearing something about Saban. If I was him, I would.
And Nick Saban's still in the building.
I know. If I was him, I would have went on the rampage I just went on at a presser. Like, I'd be like, no, do you know why this guy isn't here? Because he couldn't cut it. Why didn't they win the national championship his last year if he was God? Like a lot of people talk about him like he is.
They hadn't won a national championship in a while. I mean,
Yeah,
COVID,
2020.
Mickey Mouse year.
2020 does not count. I agree.
But it's kind of egg on the face of the people that were saying NIL is bad for college football, because I don't necessarily think it is as a product as a whole. And also the people that said the 12-team playoff is not good for college football, because now you've got like 20 teams that can make the playoff. And if you lose a game, you're not done.
Yeah.
Like Vanderbilt could win out and be in the playoff.
Yes.
That could happen.
It's very true. It
It's not
does make it.
you lose and it's over.
It does make it one very interesting down the stretch. I think that it's going to be a lot of fun. I do see what people are talking about, how like in a 12-team playoff, like there was already blowouts 1 through 4. What's it going to be like 1 through 12? But now I think people are starting to see there's more parity in college football. And that goes even beyond Vanderbilt. But to see a team like a Vanderbilt, who has been bad 75% of their tenure or whatever career, I guess, as long as the athletic department has been around, 75% of the time you have been bad. And now you're 5-2, you're hosting the number 5 team in the country. And they, on college football graphics on ESPN, I was losing my mind because they have the playoff picture and who's in the playoff. Tennessee's like the 8 seed in this certain one, and they all of a sudden they pop up. Now bring up who's in the hunt, and the second in the hunt team was the Vanderbilt Commodores. That gets people who would never watch that, like me probably, to watch it because Vanderbilt's on there in the hunt. I'm just electric.
It's a better product, and even like I don't know if Vanderbilt's in this category of. I think Vanderbilt went out and made risky moves to get in coaches and a few players that have made a huge difference for them, as well as build the last few years with Clark Lee, whatever. But I think once NIL is kind of regulated and capped, you'll see even more of an average.
Agreed.
Like everything is going to kind of average out to like, hey, there's 20 teams that can win the national championship this year. It depends on who is coaching the best and executing the best and recruiting the best.
Yeah,
who will win. Nobody has an advantage.
Yeah, who's going to show up that day? Who's going to show up that day, be the best team on the field? That's what's going to matter. It's not going to be just because Alabama. And another thing is, too, the reason Alabama never had any blunders is because they could just out-talent 7 or 8 teams on their schedule. Mm-hmm. They were just going to out-talent them. It wasn't really going to matter. They were just going to out-talent you. And so that sucks, but that time is over. We're on to the future. Screw you, Nick Saban.
Yep, Tennessee's in the bye week, so I don't
Tennessee
have to talk much more. Vanderbilt, big win. Well, not a big win. Win against Ball State. Any win's a big win. Sitting at 5-2.
Yep, 5-2. Possibility to secure a bowl game.
That you guys would be 5-2, 7 games in?
No. I mean, dude, it would just be a lie. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I even prepared a different prediction before me and Britt got on our preseason pod. And I said, there's a real road where Vanderbilt's 4-0 to start the season, and then maybe beats Kentucky, and you are 5-2. I thought there was a path, but that doesn't really matter because after the Georgia State game, I thought this team was going to win 2 games. Like, I was like, this team is probably not going to win another game. It's bad. They've really turned it around. I didn't see this coming. Shout out to Lee. Britt's 100% right. Lee has been building, but he did something risky. He went outside of his comfort zone. He did something that Nick Saban didn't do, Dabo hasn't been able to do, and that's adapt. He adapted. He said when he first got to Vandy, he was like, oh, we're not leaning on the transfer portal or NIL. We're going to build through high school. This year, we attacked the transfer portal. Look what it's doing for you. Vanderbilt's getting national attention. Shout out to Clark Lee for changing his ways. Truly. He's coaching completely different. We're being aggressive. I love it. Shout out to Clark for being able to change. I mean, really. Vanderbilt did win 24-14 against Ball State. Not a pretty win. Ultimately, I had somebody text me and just say what happened. I was at a concert, and so I watched the game on my phone, but I did miss plays here and there.
What concert you go to?
Post Malone. Also, Post Malone, amazing concert.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, man, you're welcome. My girlfriend bought it for my birthday, so stop hating. All right. But, yeah, so went to the Post Malone concert. Great time. Post Malone's one hell of an entertainer, I will say. But, yeah, the game 24-14. After going back and watching it, I will tell you that the real thing about this game, the reason this game wasn't a blowout is because a top 5 team in the nation in red zone efficiency was not efficient in the red zone. That's what it came down to. Ball State let us drive down the field, and we would, like, one time we got to the 1 yard line, false start, negative play, and then you had to kick a field goal. The next time you get into the red zone again, and I believe it's another procedure penalty, and you kick another field goal. So you've got to punch it in. This game should have easily been 38-14 probably. The time of possession for Ball State's probably a little bit more than you would like. The defense is going to have to play better football down the stretch in order for Vanderbilt to win some football games. You got a really tough matchup next week, but, not the prettiest thing. Diego Pavia had a bad game, what I would call a bad game, and he still passed for 280 yards and a touchdown, had 15 carries for like 80-something rushing yards and a touchdown. If that's his worst game, then that still levels above anything that Vanderbilt's had in 20 years at the quarterback position. So Diego Pavia missed some throws. It could have been way worse, but who cares? Ultimately, who cares? You won the game. We can learn from it. Let's just play better this week. Let's build on it. Let's come in hungry. And, Ball State sucks. We just beat Ball Sac State. Like Britt said, we're 5-2. Nobody thought we would be here. You're 19-point underdogs to Texas. You're playing with house money. Nothing matters. You're playing with completely house money. If you win this game, everything changes. If you lose this game, nothing changes. Nothing changes. You're still exceeding expectations. You're still in a good spot down the stretch. Nothing changes if you lose this game, but everything changes if you win it. If you win this game, I do not see it. I do not see a way. Vanderbilt is 25 in the poll right now. And being honest with you, that's low. I truly think that's low. I know the Georgia State loss hurts your record, but I feel like voters have shown us in the past, and especially the playoff committee has shown us in the past, that early in the season they can look past it as long as you've been dominant late.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can look past that, Vanderbilt beats Bama, number 1 team in the country at the time. Turns around the next week, beats Kentucky, who has a top 5 or a top 10 defense in the country now. Top 10 defense in the country. Then you turn around and you beat Ball State. And now you've got number 5 Texas coming to town. If you beat this game, how is Vanderbilt not top 15? That would be my question. I think you jump 10 spots, truly. And I don't think that's crazy to say. And, we'll see if there's no guarantee that we're going to win this game. I don't even necessarily like our odds to win this game. But I'm just saying, if we do win and we're not up at least to 15, I'm going to be raging. I'm going to be raging on the spot.
Well, when you take an ugly, just a bad loss like Georgia State, it's you kind of have to look at things other than your record, if I'm making any sense. But like sometimes the record does not reflect how the team is playing.
Yeah.
You lost on the road at Missouri early in the season when Missouri was I don't want to say playing at their best, but when Missouri still thought they were really good. And then my thing about Georgia State game, Vanderbilt should never even be playing that game. Why are you playing at Georgia State on a
Thanks,
baseball
Derek
field?
Mason.
That's just
Derek
weird.
Mason.
So you kind of have to look past the record and say, hey, other than that, we're undefeated and we have beat Alabama. You beat Kentucky, who you were 14.5-point dogs. You're playing really good football. You're in the national spotlight, and you still have your whole season ahead of you. And if I'm Texas, the last thing I want to be doing Saturday is playing Vanderbilt in Nashville.
Honestly.
Like, think about after their emotional loss to Georgia, they kind of got exposed in front of the whole country. Then you have to go to Nashville to play a Vanderbilt team that has already upset a top 5 team, the number 1 team this year.
Yeah,
So,
an absolute hungry team. I'm done talking about Ball State Brit. I just want to talk about Texas. I have a lot of stats on this Texas game. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Once again, number 25 Vandy against number 5 Texas. I was kind of hoping they would beat Georgia, so they would be number 1 and we'd have another go at it. But I'll take beat number 5. It'll still be electric. Listen, I have several things to say about this game. One is Texas's defense. I can't tell if they're actually really good or if they just haven't played anybody. Britt, if you don't care, will you pull up Texas's schedule so far? Thank you. In this game, though, Georgia did not score until the first quarter with 11 seconds to go in the quarter. I'm sorry. The reason they scored was because Quinn Ewers dropped back to pass and got sacked and fumbled, and Georgia recovered it at Texas's 13-yard line. So you had to go 13 yards for a touchdown. On Georgia's next scoring play, it was, let's see. Get this pulled up here. Quinn Ewers got intercepted at Texas's 34, so the drive started at the 34-yard line. They dropped 34 yards, punched it in for another touchdown. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is Georgia only scored from their own side of the field. They only drove past the 50, or their drive only started on their side of the 50 one time, and it was the 48-yard line. That's when they scored. That's it. They didn't score any other times except for from the 50 and in and their own 48 once. That's it. So I think there's some questions. One, you can say several different things. This Texas offense committed turnovers. They weren't good. Ewers got pressure. And when he got pressured, man, that Georgia defense was all over him. Georgia had 3 turnovers and Texas had 4. And, man, they even tried to sprinkle some arch in there. And if you've seen that picture of them two beside each other on the bench, it tells a story of exactly what that game was. Those dudes were scared of that Georgia D-line. They truly were. It's crazy. Of course, I bet against Kirby Smart, and he wins. That dude he always wins when I bet against him. Yeah. But luckily, I did have a Tennessee and Georgia parlay. So, shout out.
Yeah, looking ahead or looking back at Texas's wins so far, they're 6-1. They beat Colorado State.
One of the worst teams.
Michigan in the Big House, unranked Michigan.
One of the worst offenses in America.
They beat UTSA.
Okay, we're really impressed.
They beat UL Monroe.
Okay, another great offense.
They beat Mississippi State, the worst team in the SEC.
Yep.
And they beat Oklahoma, who's unranked and has 3 losses.
Yeah, Oklahoma might actually be the worst team in the conference. They do not have a quarterback. They are terrible. Oklahoma sucks. Yeah,
they suck.
Oklahoma absolutely sucks.
If I'm Oklahoma, Oklahoma is so stupid for coming to the SEC. So stupid because they will never be relevant again. And if you look at the rest of Texas' schedule after Alabama, Florida, Arkansas, Texas, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Texas A&M, who's pretty good.
You mean after Vandy, correct? After they play Vandy? Okay.
That's what I meant to say. Oklahoma has had to play, I know we're getting off track here. In the SEC, they have played Tennessee, a top 10 team, Auburn, who stinks, Texas was the number 1 team in America at the time, South Carolina, Ole Miss, a good team, Missouri, ranked coming in, Alabama, and LSU is Oklahoma's schedule. Compared to Texas's, I would be so mad if I was Oklahoma.
Yeah, I certainly would be too. But I think this game is super scary for Vandy, if you ask me personally. the matchup is just not good. Tennessee and Vanderbilt game, I'll point to it later in the season because it's going to be super interesting. Does Tennessee abandon the run? Because that is what Vanderbilt wants you to run the football defensively. We want you to run the ball, take your 2 or 3 yards. We're going to stop you. Run it again, 3-4 yards. We're going to stop you. Run it again. That's what we want you to do. That's what we want you to do. We're going to get a couple 3-and-outs. For the most part, we're going to let you drive down the field. We're going to try to buck up in the red zone. We want you to run the football, keep that clock moving, make possessions a premium so we can take advantage. Teams that throw the football first, Georgia State, Ball State. We struggled with both of them, and they're nowhere close to as talented as you. And you lost to Georgia State, and you barely beat Ball State. When teams throw the football first, Vanderbilt has such a tough time for some reason guarding the tight ends and the running backs out of the backfield. Will actually touched on this in the Dore Report today in their podcast, and it was the exact same thing I was thinking. Why can you not guard either one of those two guys? You can't guard them. I don't know if that's just what we're giving up or if that's the game plan, but Vanderbilt has not guarded the tight end and has not guarded the running back well. So if you're going to throw to those guys, it makes me nervous about the game.
Well, for the Tennessee game, I wish I could love my future kids as much as Josh Heupel loves to run the football.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, truly. He does. He loves to run the football, and that's why I said I think that game will be a really interesting matchup. But not to get too ahead of ourselves, we're still in October. But yeah, I mean, Texas's offense, they looked scattered last week. Ewers looked off. They have athletes all over the field, though. I mean, Isaiah Bond's out there. In the backfield, you've got a 3-headed monster with Blue and the boys. I think the biggest thing about this game that's going to play a big factor is, does Texas truly have a quarterback controversy? Does this team believe in Quinn Ewers? Do they not? I think this is a great spot to catch Texas. You're catching them after a beating loss. They just took a beating at home. They really got embarrassed, to be honest with you. They got embarrassed. Their fans were embarrassing, throwing trash on the field. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. We won't even get into the refs, but their fan base got embarrassed. Their team got embarrassed. There's a real question in the locker room, I think, and I think that plays a lot into Vanderbilt's favor, especially because you're hungry. Nobody believes in you. I wish that spread would go up about 1.5 because Diego Pavia is undefeated when he's more than 20-point underdog. So if we could just get that spread up a little bit, that would be nice. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a super interesting matchup. Texas O-line is huge. They did kind of get bullied against Georgia, but Vanderbilt doesn't have the edge rushers that Georgia's got. And so it's going to be an interesting battle up front. I think you're going to have to send extra pressure. Georgia really caught Texas off guard with exotic blitzes, bringing 5-6 guys up to the line, sometimes dropping them back, but a lot of times bringing them with stunts. And it had Quinn Ewers in a gas chamber. That man was struggling to breathe. And Clark Lee is really smart. I think he's going to learn from what Kirby Smart did this past weekend. And so I think that does give me a glimpse of hope that, we can maybe get some pressure. You're getting Langston Patterson back. It's been confirmed. I got told that it's been confirmed he will play. Also should have Miles Capers back. Gonna be missing your best interior lineman in Zaylen Woods still. But I think that's enough to do enough defensively to win. Ultimately, though, this battle is going to be won on Vanderbilt's offensive side of the ball. Vanderbilt has to pick up first downs. I said it against Bama. I'm going to say it again against Texas. Key number 1 to victory. Start the game, your first possession, with a long 8-9 minute drive. You need a long, sustaining drive, even if it only leads to a field goal. You can't have that happen a lot. But even if it only leads to 3, a nice long drive where your defense gets a good rest, get some confidence, and can go out there and ball. You really only need a couple stops as Vanderbilt's defense. You need 4 stops. We'll say 3-4 stops of no points to win this game if your offense plays well. Eli Stowers is rated the best tight end in the country right now. He is the best tight end in the country.
He's really good.
Dude is exceptional. Vanderbilt has never seen a guy like Eli Stowers at the tight end position. People can throw out Jared Pinkney and whoever else they want to. No, this dude's elite. If he gets 30% better at blocking, he's a 1st or 2nd round pick in the NFL draft. He's that kind of good pass catcher. Maybe not as good as Brock Bowers, but he's that kind of pass catcher out of the backfield.
Bowers is good.
Yeah, Brock Bowers is amazing at football, though. Holy crap.
Oh, sorry, I
But
forgot he's a Raiders player.
he's
My
a
bad.
Raider, baby.
My bad.
No, you're good.
College Brock Bowers
But
is good.
yeah, I mean, it's Eli Stowers had 8 receptions for 130 yards last week against Ball State. Dude's just absolutely balling. I think Texas is going to do what they can to take him out of the game, though, and I think that's a good strategy. I think you're going to see him get bracketed a lot, which is good. You know, they're going to have to leave somewhere open. They're going to leave the outside one-on-one, or they're going to leave the middle of the field one-on-one, depending on where you put Eli at. I think it's interesting. But if they double team him, you can take advantage of the offense or the defense in a lot of different ways. So other guys have got to be ready to step up. Junior Sherrill, Quincy Skinner, they got to go. Cedric Alexander, need another big game. Keep blocking. Do the little things right. Hold your block off on the edge. That's what it takes. You did it against Bama. You can beat this caliber of a team. You've just got to put it together. I truly believe they can do it again. They've just got to do the little things right. Convert in the red zone. You've got to score in the red zone. That's key takeaway number 2. I don't need field goals when you get to the red zone. Clark, 1 field goal, maybe 2, depending on how the game's going. After that, it's go for it. All right, if you've ever seen Face of the Giants, the coach takes the sucker out of his mouth and he goes, "I'm done kicking field goals. We're going for it every time." That should be us. After the second field goal, you look at your offense and you say, "You've got 4 downs to pick up 10 yards. Find a way. Figure it out. We're not kicking field goals. Score touchdowns in the red zone." Key number 3, I want the Manning family and the Ewers family to be seeing ghosts in Nashville. The students are packing out the bank. I've heard they're filling up 2 sections. We're sending them to the north end zone standing room only as well. First Bank, I truly think, and a bunch of people said this about the Ball State game, the crowd was dying to get into it. Vanderbilt had the most fans they had at First Bank in a long time. It was almost sold out against Ball State. I mean, and it was all Vanderbilt fans outside of maybe 100, the 100 and 150 people that a small school normally brings. That's all family. Outside of those guys, the rest of that stadium is Vandy. The crowd wanted to get into it so bad. And there's really, even if it's not another win, a fan base that just deserves to have it loud, and the players too, that deserves to have it loud in there for their team in the city. It's a Vanderbilt fan base and that team. So I really hope they show out, go crazy. But honestly, key number 3, and I'm still in this one from someone else who talks Vandy, but it was my key before, so it's just going to sound like I'm stealing it. But Pavia has to make Pavia plays. I said Pavia's got to be hit on his best Menzel-esque performance. He's got to make a play where you look and say, that play's normally not made. He made one of those against Ball State. He made 4 or 5 of them against Texas. I'll say Diego needs 3 of them. If he gives you 3 of them, you have a good chance to win.
Yeah. Texas is gay. They came into the conference thinking they were king of the world. They have a lollipop schedule. The first team they play, they get dominated. And Georgia didn't even play good Saturday, and they still dominated Texas. And you have to go to Nashville to play, like Joseph said, a team that has nothing to lose and everything to gain from a win. And the entire country outside of Texas wants Vanderbilt to do it again, to upset a top 5 team. So, Joseph, I'm sure you're going to be in the stadium.
I will be there. I'll be in Section F, the Junkyard. Also, would just like to say something about Texas's defense. Britt read off their schedule, and their schedule is suspect. But they are the number 1 defense in the country. Now, once again, I'm trying to decide if they're actually good. They are top 10 in every single stat defensively. And I think that could be a problem. That could be a problem for Vanderbilt's offense early on, trying to score and sustain drives. So that's something to watch early in this game. Can Vanderbilt move the ball? They're allowing only 9.7 points per game. Tennessee's barely higher than that, just for the record, at just under 12 points per game. So Tennessee's defense also very good. But Texas top 10 defense, their offense, you're just going to hope to get them off rhythm. They're still a top 20 offense in the country too. So this is going to be difficult. I think it's going to be really interesting, though. The spread's at 19. Britt, what do you think about that line? You like it either way? Scared to bet it?
Oh, I'm definitely scared to bet it.
I think there is a way in this football game that Vanderbilt gets blown out by 30. There is. There's a path to Vanderbilt getting blown out by 30 or 40. There's a path. And I will hate that if that happens. That will not make me look differently at Clark Lee or what this team's done so far. There's still some games to win down the stretch, but it just will sting. And I think most of the outcomes, though, if I did my Doctor Strange, let me get the Time Stone, see 1,000 different directions real quick. I think most of the outcomes are this is a close game. This is a 31-24. This is a 34-24 game where you see it's really close, and you got to see who comes out on top. And that's why we play the games, man. The analytics say we only got an 8% chance. So they said we only had a 5 against Bama, and we won. So go out there, man. Get it done. I will be wearing, if you're watching on video, I will be wearing these gold shorts right here. I will be wearing those. So probably no way we losing those. I probably bet Vandy money line. If you're watching, or if you're not watching, I just hold up some gold gay shorts that women wear.
A gold thong.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm interested to see this game. I think some guys are going to have to step up. Need your best defensive game of the year. Pavia got to be Pavia. That's kind of my thing on it. If I had to give a prediction on this game, just because I really like to, Vanderbilt comes up just short, 31-27. I'm going to stick right there. Think Texas red zone defense being what it is, top 5 red zone defense in the country versus a top 5 red zone offense in the country. You just got to kind of punch it in. We'll see if they can come out swinging early, give yourself a shot. But I think it's going to come down to the wire, and Vanderbilt barely falls short.
Yeah, I'm probably somewhere around there too. But for Vandy, I mean, you've got another opportunity to play one of the most talented teams in the country. And like you said, that's why you play.
Yep.
Just go out there and do it.
It is why you play the game. There is no doubt about that.
I'm sweating.
Yes. I am ready for some picks. You got some picks?
Oh, God. You go first.
All right, who's got no picks?
No picks.
I do have picks. Guys, let me get that pulled up for us. Last week I went 3 for 5. Had a solid weekend though betting. No complaints from me. Sorry, my podcast numbers didn't do great. Just 3 for 5. But I have a 5-leg parlay here, guys. We're gonna bet on a lot of the same people here because they haven't let us down. First of all, Indiana money line. They've been unstoppable. They're 6-point favorites right now. I think they win by more than a touchdown, but they do have a backup quarterback that's going to start, and that makes me nervous. They're going to win the football game. They're just better than Washington. Next game, Maryland at Minnesota. I took Minnesota money line. That spreads at like 3.5, 4. Maryland's not very good. It's at Minnesota. 2:30 game. They usually have a good environment. I just like Minnesota at home. Kentucky money line at home. Kentucky's playing Auburn. Kentucky's defense is really good, and Kentucky has played themselves with penalties the last 2 weeks. If they can clean that up, I think that they can easily handle Auburn. Next game, one of the teams that burnt us last week, California money line. California just absolutely destroyed us, losing by 1 point, but they're playing Oregon State at home. I think that's a big win for them. Last game, Arkansas takes on Mississippi State. Let me tell everybody something. I thought Arkansas was good after they beat UT. I believed in them for 1 second, and I watched a couple of plays, or I watched maybe a quarter and a half of the game against LSU, and I decided they actually really do just suck. Arkansas is not good.
No,
Mississippi. It's at Mississippi State. Mississippi State's hungry for a win. It's an early game. I think Arkansas is overlooking them, and Arkansas, Taylon Green, who knows if he's completely healthy still, played last week, didn't look great. Don't believe in him. Give Mississippi State money line for the final game there. That parlay is plus 1,300, so $10 wins 140.
I also have a bet in the Arkansas-Mississippi State game under 58. I like Boise State -3. Boise State.
That's right.
At UNLV. I don't like Boise State. I don't think they play anybody. I think their running back is really good, but also they don't play anybody. So if they're as good as people say they are, they should beat UNLV by 3 points. I like Alabama -13.5 at home against Missouri. If Alabama loses 2 games in a row, it is over. Alabama is officially dead. I don't think it happens. I think they beat Missouri pretty easily. I've got Miami minus 21 at home against Florida State. Florida State is 1-6. And I've got Vanderbilt plus 19 points at home against Texas.
I like that, Britt. I like that. My parlay's hidden 100%. I really like Britt's too. So I mean, y'all
plus 2,400.
Y'all just go ahead and make those parlays. There's probably no way you don't make money this weekend if you make both those parlays. So yeah, Vanderbilt takes on Texas. You know what it is? Anchor down, Horns also down. Hallie Dillard, forget you. You put Horns up on a Facebook post. We don't even like you. So Hallie, forget you. Nick Saban, I hate you. And yeah, that's it. Anchor down. I'll be in First Bank this weekend. Hopefully, tearing on the goalpost. Britt, enjoy y'all's week off. No stress for you.
Yep, I'm going to go nurse my wounds and be back in the bed.
All right, brother.
But go Vols.
See
Goodbye.
y'all.